The Rap Roundtable.
Beats, rhymes, and lists. You know, people who have been providing some top tier content for the Rap Roundtable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't send us this, but it was a tweet and it was talking about the kings of New York.
Yeah.
So it was a question about who was the best king of New York. And I believe Big was on that list.
Right.
Hov was on that list.
Right.
Esco was on that list.
Okay.
And 50 Cent was on that list. So I'm like, that's a pretty illustrious list.
Elite.
I don't know if there's a king of New York right now, but the talk is Rome Streets might have the crown. That's the conversation that's being had on the internet. But those are the big four, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with that. I see Mason already taking a sip. You know, you didn't tap in with us for the lunch hour, so we coming to you first.
Right.
Based on that four, do you have anyone else in the conversation? And where would you rank the kings of New York?
Based on that, I don't have any other people to add to the list. I know there's been like middle periods where like randoms have been trying to subscribe that they got the crown, but never like on some citywide, statewide level where everybody was like, yo, this is the guy. You know what I mean? So, you know, the fact that Jav asked me to rank him, that was already what I was coming in to do, honestly. You know what I mean? Because that's basically, and we're not talking about best artists out of New York. We're not talking about best lyricists. When it comes to King of New York, I don't know. Maybe they need like a little explanation about it.
Break down. A persona,
right?
A standing in the culture of New York. You know what I mean? And you got to claim it, because there's some artists like DMX who in '98, from the outside looking in, we could have been like, yo, '98 that might have been DMX's year. He might have been the biggest in New York, but he was never the type of artist to claim King of New York. Right. So if he wasn't really claiming it, do we really give it to him? You know what I mean? It's that
streets, man. So yeah.
So thank you for the explanation, Sin. I felt like they needed that, you know, rather than to just kick in the door and say, nah, he's not fucking with the jizz in 94. You know what I mean? Scaring the hole. You know what I mean?
95.
So, 90, my fault, 95.
South Pole sweats and all that, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Ready to fight, you know what I mean? Catching you in the elevator like Bishop, you feel me? But, you know, overall, all four, these are four strong candidates. You know what I mean? Okay. These are, you know, these are, in my lifetime, these have been the kings of New York. I feel like, you know, even as a little kid, I might have remembered Big, you know, being the guy, you know what I mean? Asking my cousin to turn the station from MTV Raps. I wanted to watch some Barney, but you know how that goes. So if I had to, you know, go from, you know, the top, pause, you know, from the top to the bottom, pause, and just in case.
It wasn't me this time, y'all.
I beat Sin this time.
It wasn't me.
Unhealthy.
I would say the you know, the number one king in New York, I'ma have to go Big. I'm sorry, y'all. The original, you know what I mean? Frank White, the person who was on the Source cover, the only person I feel like other MCs that, you know, had a shot at the crown acknowledged as the king. You know what I mean? I feel like that has something to do with it. You know what I mean? I gotta say, you know, when Big was the guy, you know, other than, you know, Raekwon and all of them, they was like, yeah, he's the guy, you know. I feel like he was the best artist out of these guys. I feel like he was the king in the most competitive era. You know what I mean? So that has to count for something. And basically, you know, his team was running shit at the time. Let's keep it a buck. We can say that about multiple candidates, but Bad Boy in 95, 96, come on, when, you know, early 97 when he was alive, that was different, y'all. Yeah. You know, so I would go Big number one. I would go Jay number two. Okay. Longest run, you know what I mean? Another super strong team, you know what I mean? You know, when Jay was the guy, you know, it might have not been as competitive as Big because of the Big. There was so many high level artists at the top of the game, at the top of their game. You know what I mean? So, but as many people was taking shots at Jay as they were Big. Like, let's keep it a stack. Like,
maybe more.
Shaq going crazy right now.
Right. Listen.
They feeling the
now number three.
How could he? He didn't write his bars.
Right. Jesus Christ. Number
all
three.
His bars were big.
Local celebrity rapper.
Local celebrity rapper.
Local celebrity rapper.
Local celebrity rapper. Number two. Don't shoot me, guys. Number three. I'm gonna have to go 50 Cent, guys. 50, you know, when he did his thing, he had the highest selling album. You know what I mean? He had the biggest hits. He was, you know, if we look at all these guys on a worldwide scale, 50 is the one. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. You know, now I know people gonna be upset, that I have Nas number 4. This is not saying Nas is the 4th best out of these guys. We're talking about the reign as king. And when and honestly, I want to compliment him first. During his reign, I'll say
when was his reign?
His reign was 94. I'll say 94. And then I think he grabbed it back in 2002. You know what I mean? So
wait, whoa! He didn't have it in '96.
We're not gonna forget.
That was Biggie
though, bro.
That was Biggie
Biggie
Smalls.
was the man back then.
Yeah, man.
Biggie had it in '95.
But as far as
he didn't give it up in '96, and it was '95 through '97. But I want to compliment him. He had the best album in '94 of all time. You know what I mean? And then when he recaptured the crown, he's the only one that actually won a battle. I guess 50 beat Ja, but Ja he wasn't in the running for shit, guys. Let's be honest. But
he's
honestly,
not in the running for King of New York.
Who's that? Ja? Oh, hell no.
Shout out to Ja, but no, bro.
So the reason I have Nas 4th is because honestly, he had the weakest team. There wasn't a team around him. Everybody else had a Phil Jackson-like figure, as well as a team behind them that kind of lifted them up to be that king. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like Nas had a kingdom at the time. You know what I mean? He wasn't. He was the least successful commercially out of these 4 artists. So while on like a critical level, people might have felt that it wasn't like he was selling 10 million records or 5 million records, and guys was like, see, like obviously he's the guy. And another thing that Sim brought up is he didn't have it for consecutive years.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like Jay had a consecutive run, Big had a consecutive run, 50 had a consecutive run. I never felt like Nas had those 2, 3, 4 year where he locked it up. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take the shots at, I know homie with the Z in his name is getting at me right now. I know Jack is going crazy right now. You know what I mean? Jack Lang is going wild right now. He's cursing me out. But you guys go ahead, man, because I already,
Sincere, I know you're ready to go out. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, man. Where do I start?
Oh, no.
First of all, I do want to reiterate something that Mace said in regards to Nas and not really having that same team. That's something that I've wanted to bring up, and I guess this is as good a time as any because you mentioned it. You know what I mean? Like, Big had Bad Boy, Jay had Rockefeller, 50 had G Unit. Nas, it always felt like it was him for Dolo. Like he said on Last Real Nigga Live, heard me when I had to kill him in his whole squad for Dolo. He was always like a loner type of dude. Bravehearts, we know how that turned out, but always respected Nas for being like that loner dude and holding it down for himself. You know what I mean? As far as King of New York and who the biggest king was, I'm gonna have to concur with Mace and say that it was Big, because for a couple reasons. One, I feel like he's the one that, because when Nas came in with Illmatic, he was just like a gifted MC, street poet. He just wanted to make the best album with the best producers, and just lock in and make great art. But it wasn't the type of feeling where he was like, yo, I want to make this album to be like the king of the city. You know what I mean? It wasn't until Big came in and he started claiming it, and then the Source started claiming it for him too, that energy sort of started emerging, right? And so, but beyond that, Big just had, like I was saying before, there's a persona aspect to it, right? Like, and with Nas being this kind of more introverted, laid back, loner type of dude, Big just fit that persona of being the king and having a throne and a crown and subjects and stuff and shit like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And then with Ready to Die being so heavy, and then to me the greatest double album of all time, Life After Death. I think it's hard to argue against Big being like the biggest king of New York and holding it down for himself and for the city. You know what I mean? As far as number 2, I got to give it to Nas, man. I gotta give it to Nas.
Interesting.
And the reason I give it to Nas is because, like,
wow,
in
bro.
the most competitive,
That's crazy, bro.
in
Big
the most
surprise.
competitive era, he claimed it in '96. At least as far as I'm concerned, with it was written. You know what I mean? What was the other huge album out of New York that year? Reasonable Doubt, but Jay wasn't. You know, he wasn't that.
He wasn't. Nah, he was nowhere near that conversation.
You know what I mean? And so, unlike what Mace thinks, I think Nas did snatch it back, but albeit briefly in '96, but he did snatch it back when it was written. The message definitely sent a message. There's one life, one love, so there can only be one king. You know what I mean? I think he laid a claim for that. Then Big took it back in '97. From there on forth, it was Jay, but I feel like this is now an era where it was less competitive. And Jay also was, I think, he was less interested with being king of New York and more interested with, going into other regions and being played in other, other regions of the country. He, started dipping and dabbling with, more Southern artists. He wanted more radio play. You know what I mean? It was now an era where it wasn't so much about like, yo, who's holding it down for the city? This is the era now where it was like, yo, we gotta expand and go to the South, go to the West. You had the Dynasty album that sounded very, very West Coast. You know what I mean? You had him doing joints with UGK and Too Short, and you know what I mean? Which I might add, Nas might have opened the door for when he linked up with Dre before it was written. Nobody was doing that before him. But I digress.
I mean, Hov did write for Dre in
99.
He didn't ask Nas to do that.
Later.
He could have asked the nigga he worked with, but he asked Jay-Z, the hottest nigga on the planet. But go ahead, Sid.
Anyway, I said open the door for it. So
he did go like getting
all
jiggy
the timeline.
He cracked the door, and the door was kicked open by local celebrity rapper.
And then lastly, 50. Just because I don't know, I never really cared for 50 like that. Even though his reign was monstrous, and I did, I did admit that in one of our last, YouTube videos. But I don't know. Again, in that era, it was less competitive. Who did he take out? He took out Ja. You know what I mean? He didn't battle Jay. He sent
Jay
some
hightailed it out the game. Jay hightailed it out the game, man.
Nah, but he didn't battle.
What you mean?
You know what I mean? It wasn't a battle.
Battle retired, man.
You know what I mean?
there was shots, but
if
I'm about
really
the
gonna
dollar.
give
What
it
the
to
fuck is 50 Cent? Is the loudest shot ever.
But what I'm saying is, it wasn't a battle.
You're right.
It was a shot. It wasn't a battle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The biggest battle, as far as I'm concerned, and I think we're all concerned, was Nas Jay-Z in 2001. It didn't involve 50. You know what I mean? So I put 50 first.
Okay. So you got Big, Nas, Hov, 50.
Jay, then 50.
All right. Deanie, what's up?
Number one, I got Hov.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't think anyone made a bigger stance to claim the city than Hov. And I don't think no one checks off more boxes. The boxes that Biggie misses, Hov has all those boxes checked.
What boxes were those?
Like the longest run.
Oh, because Biggie died?
I mean, that is a part of life, my brother.
Right.
People pass away.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That counts for something. I mean, it's 2 albums compared to what, like 15?
Yo, like he talking like we could wish Big back
Back to life. You know what I'm saying?
The
Like,
reality
we don't got the
is,
Dragon
he passed
Balls, bro.
away.
Like,
His life was cut short. Rest in peace to the legend. But because of that, someone picked up the baton. That's just what it is.
and Hov checks off every box. 'Cause I mean, top tier flows, top tier bars, top tier albums, effects on culture as far as fashion, influence. You think of New York, you think of Hov. There was a time when you thought of hip hop, like current hip hop, you thought of Hov. You get what I'm saying? That's gotta matter for something, bro. Like the effects on culture alone, like he actually had an imprint in the city. Like he had his face on a building in the city. Like it's a different kind of energy, bro. I'm like, to me, Hov checks off every box as far as like he's the quintessential. When you think of a rapper, a successful rapper, what you want to be, in the world as a rapper, as far as success, accolades, acclaim, to me, that's Jay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I got Jay as number 1. For 2, I got Big. Because Big carried that mantle well when he was actually doing his King of New York shit. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. Frank White. Like we said, life got cut short. Had 2 amazing albums. I'm sure he would have had a lot more if he was here. Team was amazing. Production was amazing. Secondary man in charge was amazing. Shout out to Puff. Just had great direction. You know what I'm saying? And really stood the test of time. His music still knocks incredibly today. If I'm going 3, I'm going Nas. And if I won't even give it to Nas for the shit he did then. Because that we can argue that for days. I would give Nas his run for that now. To be in the 4-peat that he's in, to do in the Garden, to him and Hit Boy just having this magical chemistry. The fact that no one out there is really curating shit together like they are. You get what I'm saying? As consistently as they are. And nobody really has their hands out for New York as far as the top guard right now. Right. So if we had to pick a top rapper in New York right now, I would say it is Nas. And I would go with 50. And I'm not giving 50 fourth because he's bad and not like that. I mean, like, look at the people we have on the list.
We talking about kings, so it's nothing bad here. You know what I mean?
Facts. But I mean, 50's run was tremendous. I mean, the run. I mean, what can you say about the run, man? 03 was 02?
03
into 03, honestly.
Right. It was a summer thing.
I gave 02 Nas, so I gave him 03.
It was immense, man. Inescapable fucking music. Like Hot 97 was playing the album throughout, bro. I haven't seen some shit like that since they was doing that type of shit with Hove. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna give 50 number 4. That's my list.
All right, some interesting lists here. I like what I hear. The conversation kind of went where I thought it might go. So, you know, I'm not. There's no surprises, I would say. Right. All right. So, for me, number 1,